Well, hello, chat. Here we are again. Good to see you. Today is Tuesday, July 15th, 2025, and I am here to deliver because that's what I promised you. I had a lot of people on TikTok. I asked the question, do you want me to do 1,000,000 little videos or just one long form? And many of you said long form, but don't make it too long. So I'm here to make this as short and sweet as possible. I hope all you in the nest here with me are doing amazing. Just some little housekeeping. Welcome to the nest, all you little nesters. It's good to see every single one of you. Make sure that you remember to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, which is free, and make sure your notifications are on all because I am here to give you all the details possible. So welcome in. If you want, you can drop where you are tuning in from. Greatly appreciate every single one of you as always. And thank you for the fabulous donations and the super chats. I am like blown away by your charity and your kindness to be able to bring you the facts. And that's exactly what I do with facts and evidence and receipts to back that up. So let's see who we have in the house. Renee, you are a nester. And Granny Ma, hey, she says hi, Phoenix and everyone. And let's see, we've got Tacoma, Washington, Alabama, whoop whoop, Michigan. Patty's in the house from Michigan, and Les is in the house. Hello, Les, good to see you. Crime Spy 2024, I love your name. Welcome in. And I've got Florida in the house. See a lot of people coming in. Yep, I'll be on Birdie right after this, but let me get to what I promised you. So I have a list of things I want to go over, but as usual, I am going to show you a nester find. Well, actually, it was from a discussion that came a little earlier. And if you're new to my channel, welcome in. I greatly appreciate you. We've got somebody from Scotland. Welcome on in. Santa Fe, New Mexico rocks in the house. And let me go ahead and grab that for you because I want you to be able to see this live. This little nugget of information that I found. I was on a quest earlier this morning and I wanted everyone else to see this little find. So as soon as my computer catches up, I will go ahead and share that video. And what we're talking about today, obviously, is in fact the docuseries on Amazon. There has been a lot of questions why Kaylee family has not been in this, and I'll get to that at the end. You guys are going to want to watch this, okay? So one thing, I want to grab this clip. Hold on. Let me grab this. And we'll start here. Let me make sure that I open this up. Big screen possible so you guys can see it. Okay. So here we go. I think I got too many things up on my screen today. All right. Let's watch this real quick. Wrong. And if you can imagine me putting up the big X. Nope. Sorry, Charlie. Because I'm going to show you. Well, let me show you this little find before I get to that. I want you guys to see this for yourselves. Let me share this screen. Hopefully y'all could see that. So I'm about to show you why that's wrong. All of you know that I love watching court hearings and I attend court and I've seen people plead guilty and I've seen stuff like this being railroaded in the media. Thank you, Lana. She is amazing. Truth and transparency. Shout out. I looked everywhere for this live hearing, only found it on your channel.
He's badgering the witness.
Yeah, it's an objection.
He's badgering the witness. He's misstating his testimony, and I object.
The witness testified he didn't care if the information was correct, Judge.
Yeah. Okay. Bill Thompson, does he not know how to answer when there's an objection? You have to answer that. So she's objecting to, and she's stating why. Okay. Now listen to how.
Now, y'all, if you remember seeing this hearing, this guy on the witness stand is in the process of being questioned. And there's something that was dropped by Bill Thompson in this that I want you to hear. And then I'm going to get to the part that he says he wasn't stalking them. There is no one said that they were stalking. But I want you to listen real close to what Bill Thompson says right before this.
Judge answers this for the record. Does he say objection overruled, objection sustained? He doesn't say shit. He never says, listen to this.
Overruled. So,
oh, sorry, on this one he does?
No, that's okay.
Okay, wait. So it's overruled, but then listen. It's overruled, but then listen to what he says.
Person can talk at a time, and let's take down.
But he gets to. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But let's take it down a notch. So he wasn't badgering because he's overruling it, meaning that he's not badgering him, but he wants him to take it down. And hey, guys, only one person talking at a time. Bill Thompson is going to get crushed in the courtroom when the jury sees him acting like this. This is what you guys are all. You see Bill Thompson and Taylor, cool, calm, cucumber. She is that other cool side of the pillow.
Just so we're clear, the questions, fact-specific questions were propounded to people who were taking the survey. Did not, after asking the question even, qualify the false facts as saying this may or may not be true, or this is actually a false fact. The survey didn't tell them that what they might have heard was false.
First of all, I don't call them facts because they're media items. And then second of all, that would be ridiculous. And no, I wouldn't do that in a survey.
His answers are great.
Okay, so remember, this witness on the stand was actually talking about the media and the facts versus fiction, right? And you see him, he was assigned to do some survey. You see his demeanor on the stand, and then later on, Bill Thompson, I want to find it, Bill Thompson and Ann Taylor go head to head. Let me see if this is it.
The bias isn't so great where maybe Mr. Koberger can have a fair trial. I'm his advocate. I want to help him. I believe in his innocence. I'm not going to stand in this courtroom and do anything wrong to him at all. I need you to hear the information so you can make a decision, to have the surveys, to have the information when we come.
There it was, guys. There it was.
So right there, Ann believes Koberger is innocent. And of course, Bill gets up and let me just let this play.
Right there, that's Ann Taylor saying, for the first time ever, and I'm going to rewind a little bit more because this was Bill Thompson saying, I can't believe that you want to show these.
Let me go forward. Hold on, Lana. Dang it. I knew that was going to happen because I didn't order my premium today. It's innocent.
The right way is the process. And that's from this guy. He's done it in all of these.
And he did not stalk these victims. So that's my point right there. I could go on. If you haven't seen this video with Lana on Truth and Transparency, go watch it. Give her a like and a follow. Big shout out. She has some amazing content too. But I just want to say that he was not stalking anyone. And that is one of the very first things they have you believe in this docuseries. Wrong. Intro. That was the new series that dropped obviously a couple of days ago. Rebecca, I'd have to agree with you, unless I do have a theory that I will share, and that will be in my next live. But let me get back to the key points in regards to One Night in Idaho. And there are 4 that I have found that have been misrepresented. And the reason I say this is because it's per the court records. The court records, the judge has the duty under oath to figure out what the facts are and put those in actual writing and orders with his signature, finding the facts. And the court records indicate the first thing was the way that they presented the video footage of his travel route. Now, if you go and you watch this video, I'm not going to play it all because I don't want to get a copyright or anything like that. But if you go and you watch the video on the Prime document that just came out, you will notice that the route of the escape vehicle is so entirely fabricated. And the reason I say that is the Prime version shows the car video trail of the suspect leaving. We don't even know if that's Kohberger's car, right? But the court docs and the testimony reveal that most of the routes have no footage, nor did any video conclusively showing the Elantra leaving Moscow via those paths. I went through Reddit and I scoured some information, and I'm not saying it's right, but somebody had wrote most of the possible routes eliminated, the videos don't exist, are currently lost, or don't actually show the car. Well, how odd is that? How odd. Despite that, the PCA that Brett Payne wrote with help from other agencies, it said that likely the vehicle exited at Palouse River Drive, and I think it's Contega Drive, Conesta Drive, or whatever that was, based on non-existent video evidence. So meaning that he formed a definitive conclusion about the route with any camera proof. How in the world is that possible? They speculated. So the video that we see in Dateline even is probably not Kohberger's car. Can you believe that? Let's talk about the omission of investigative genealogy, the IGG. Well, we heard Bill Thompson in court just with the plea deal. And what did he say about this? What did Bill say? Well, let's listen to what Bill said, because I have a theory on this one. And this bad boy has kept me up at night. Let's watch what Bill said about the DNA.
The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, next to Madison Mogen's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood.
Okay. All right. You said it was a single source DNA on the sheath, meaning it could have been from secondary contact, not confirmed blood or fingerprints, right? So that is touch DNA. And in the series, it hints that the sheath in this docuseries, that was the strong physical evidence, when in fact, that's a nuance. It's fully conveyed in Prime's narrative. It's wrong. Wrong again, Amazon. Wrong. Now, the admission of IGG is pretty interesting, too, because in the PCA, Payne, and he even testified that he only learned about Koberger's name via the FBI in IGG in mid-December 2022. That was initially omitted from the probable cause affidavit by a collaborative decision to avoid revealing the source because they did not want to name the FBI in this affidavit. That's where the IGG came from, and we can get far into the weeds on that. But it just shows you that this creates a disconnect to the viewers. They might believe that the name was uncovered through traditional investigation, but court records show it originated from a new method that was deliberately downplayed. Did anybody notice that? I mean, drop a serious one if you watched the Amazon and you caught that. Did you watch the series and catch that big boo-boo? Anyone at all? So sus. Yes, I agree with most of you. Absolutely. And that just tied in together the implied direct link with the single source DNA. Yeah, you ain't missing anything, Rebecca. If you don't want to watch it, I totally hear you. And the last one that I was able to see, and there is something else I want to show you, which is mind-blowing. There is a little, whoops, wrong one. Let me do this real quick. It was this one. The unknown male B blood evidence. So in the PCA, pain refers to blood spot on the stair railing known as unknown male B. You know, and in this court one that I just showed you from Lana, they go on and they talk about the actual male unknown B. I mean, believe me, Anne goes hard. She goes seriously hard at questioning about this male B. Now, we all know that there are a few other DNA, 3 male DNA that were left. So I don't know how this whole town thinks that they're safe. How in the world? How in the world did they think that they're safe in this town if the real unaliver is still out there? I want to bring this up so you can see this for yourselves. Here we go. Back to Lana's video, which is awesome.
Then it doesn't, false things can't inculpate you.
Let's get to where Anne is arguing about the DNA.
We're not embedding anything into anyone.
My client and his.
What are you
I
doing?
did it again,
You're a
guys.
successful executive.
Shoot.
You're a successful business owner
Let me
who's
just
realized
put
that
this
he's
guy on mute for a minute. I'm going to skip that out. We're going to go back. And here we go. I will get that fixed by tonight, guys. All right, what's going on here? So I was trying to load this video. Come on. Maybe it's not going to do it. Hold on. Did I do that? Oh, there it is. So we can get the show on the road.
His rights are of the utmost importance to me. Him being treated fair, his presumption of innocence, him having an impartial.
There's the word. The presumption of innocence is not there in Latah County. Brian Kohlberger is in no way, shape, or form being presumed innocent.
Correct.
Okay. It's not there. You guys understand that? So this is the United States of America, where you are supposed to be seen innocent until proven guilty. And I will tell you guys, till I'm blue in the face, the families, they're always going to get a pass with me. They can, you know, because nobody knows how they would act. Nobody knows how they would do this. Nobody knows how they would respond. The entire truth. This could. That is powerful. And not one single media outlet has talked about it.
There you go. So I talked about the media yesterday.
When I woke up this morning, I ran through. I want to see what every single title is out there when they went ahead and titled what this hearing was called. And it is pathetic. It is laughable. And you guys are nothing but sheep. You guys are bought and paid for. Gaslight.
I love Lana. Okay. Now, I don't watch her very often, but I had to go and search for myself to hear that, because I can't find any uncut hearing that just goes through. So I enjoyed listening to her, to what she said, because we have a lot of similar beliefs. So with that being said, the only other thing that, people have been asking me, there were minor wrongs in the whole the docuseries. And some of the notes that I took were pretty much the same as you. There was something, let me look in my drafts, because I wrote it all out on my computer while I was watching it. Okay. One of the things is when Emily says that the paramedics didn't even go in, they didn't go upstairs. And everybody's like, why didn't they go upstairs? Why didn't they go check on these people? Because the police had already been in there and they had already done a walkthrough. So by the time the paramedics got there, they said, Aunt, this is a crime scene, can't go in. And that is why the paramedics did not go in. That was one of the things I called. And the other one was obviously how Dylan and Bethany were nonchalant about the whole thing, but yet when they called Emily and Hunter, it wasn't like it was a big deal. It was just an unconscious person, or something happened last night. So the other thing that I had written down is the heartbreaking, the Chapens. Their story was just absolutely heartbreaking. And, Mogan's mom, Maddie Mogan's mom, was in this documentary, and she basically is broken. I mean, that just broke my heart. And when you start looking at all these documentaries that came out, they had to have been at least 16, 17 months in production. So that would take them back to 2023, if they just barely started talking about it, because Maddie Mogan's mom had said that it's already taken me a year. So if it had been a year, that was 12 months in, and maybe a couple months after that would be production. So you're looking at the late 2023, 24. And it's odd that they release this document, the series, right when this plea deal comes out. And at the end, they give you a little synopsis update and this and that. One of the things that I noticed in this series is there was a Captain Roger. Did anybody catch that in the series? There was a Captain Roger at a press conference that they had about social media. Anybody catch that? I thought that was kind of odd that a Captain Roger within the MPD was calling a press conference to talk about social media on November 20th, 2022. Captain Roger Lehner. And I thought that was really odd. And I wondered if maybe, just maybe, allegedly, Moscow was putting information out there to try to catch the killer. And I thought, what if they actually did that? I mean, the police can lie and they have immunity, just like judges. They can lie, but it's believe me, and they can definitely lie. Let's just leave it at that. So the other thing that I noticed in the series was this, I guess she what was her name? Hold on, let me look at my notes. Oh, what was her name? It was the girl that was doing most of the reporting. And she basically went on camera, and it shocked the living hell out of me when she says, "Oh, this is probably just an incel thing." Lauren was her name per my notes. Can you believe that? Judges can lie. Yeah. they're they have immunity. So if they lie, they have immunity. Lauren, she basically said her boss calls her in and asks, "Give me the gist of this case. What's going on?" And she says, "Oh, it's probably an incel." Yeah, judges can lie. They are human. So, and then she goes into this whole Elliot Rodger crap, and I think that's where a lot of people on social media is getting this from now, especially on some of the news stations, because that's all they've been talking about for days is this Elliot Rodger crap. So, shout out to Lauren in this docuseries, because she didn't say alleged, she didn't say anything, she gave her opinion, and everyone ran with it. And there were some other players in here that I question, very, very sus. And then, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't put my son in the basement. There's just something about that. Unless the basement is like a family place, they hung out and were a safe place, then I get it. But that kind of stood out for me. So, I mean, drop something in the comments for yourselves if you thought that it was 4 hours worth watching. 4 hours I can't get back. Didn't follow the PCA very well, and that's just another ploy to show you that, Koberger is so guilty because he pled guilty. That doesn't mean he's guilty. If I were in that predicament, I have always said, which I would hope to God I would never be, but if in that predicament facing a death penalty and they came to me and said, "Look, we don't have to go to trial, you admit you're guilty, spend life in prison," I would be, "Yep, let's do it," because I know habeas corpus could come into play at any time if I know I'm innocent, to get out of jail. And you know what? It's not uncommon for people to plead to figure out how to get the truth to come out. Okay. So why was Kaylee's family not in this documentary? Anybody want to take a wild guess? Anybody at all? I've often wondered myself, and seeing a few things kind of made me think, why were none of the other families involved? How come Ben Mogan wasn't up there? I mean, Ben was closer to his mom than his mom, and his mom wasn't even there. I mean, Xana's mom wasn't even there. So where were they? I mean, were they not credible sources? Where was stepmom? Where was Maddie's stepmom? Where was Maddie's dad? Where was Xana's mom? Where was Xana's dad? I mean, how come they didn't interview the other victims' families? I have my mom's ashes showcased. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, where was the other family members? And then I got thinking about Kaylees. Kaylees is probably the easiest family member of why she was not present. Her parents were not present. And I got to thinking, well, number one, obviously there's some litigation concerns. They have an attorney. And then, media control. I think Steve is so public about criticizing law enforcement, the FBI, the prosecution, the media. His legal team has filed tons of motions and spoken out. You've seen him on social media, podcast, all that stuff. And I don't think the producers would have seen him as, they may have seen him as like too risky because of the defamation lawsuits, inaccuracies that could result in backlash, or being seen as even, taking the side of an active criminal case, because he did. He hired his own third-party detective. He says it himself. He wanted to know what was going on because he did not trust law enforcement. And of course, then they couldn't do the whole narrative framing and the tone of the series because, the series appears to align with some official sources like police timelines, probable cause affidavits, not truthful, not 100%. There's some inaccuracies, but Steve's family could challenge the PCA to introduce conflicting narratives. What if that wasn't the timeline? What if people knew that wasn't the timeline? What then? What if he got on there and started saying some stuff that they couldn't edit, and then they took the liability, right? Oh shit, we just took liability because of the fact that simply he goes against what we're trying to share. And I understand they were trying to share the students themselves, but they didn't include all of the students, surely. Obviously, they would have talked to, the gag orders, media access, all that other stuff. Because in 2023, in early 2023, exact month, but the gag orders severely limited what victims' families could say, right? They didn't want them talking, speaking out, and then they had to go back and say, okay, well, at least he could speak out, yada, yada, yada. But Ellie couldn't speak out. Um, you know, uh, attorneys can't speak out. And typically you see attorneys getting on, media sources, outlets, and they give them the exact update of a case, For instance, look at Karen Reed. They were out there and they were talking about this left and right? I mean, I did see Karen Reed's attorneys almost every day saying something, at least about the case, or, no comment, we can't talk right now, we're in the middle of litigation, some type of feedback. We believe in her innocence. They said some things to the media, but, they didn't have a gag order. So that was one thing that kind of interested me. And then, I don't know why I put that up there. Nope, wrong one again. So, I mean, that was one of the things that came out of that. And then obviously, what if the family refused to participate? It's possible that they refused to participate if they were glossing over the facts, it wasn't in Kaylee's memory, or even they weren't even offered fair creative input. So those were the reasons that I think that maybe Kaylee's family wasn't involved in this docuseries. And that's what one of the things that really struck me as odd is because of the fact they have been so outspoken. They didn't hardly ever talk about Xana, right? What was the reason for that, you think? I really wonder. I really wonder. What's going on in the chat? Let's see. LE FBI confidential informants. Yep. Absolutely 100% agree. By all the court records and all the documents, not in this document, but the individuals surrounding the documents, the cases. Absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head. Yep. The powers that be. I think producers or someone in the hierarchy of media knew that there wasn't going to be a trial. Oh, very, very possible. Absolutely possible. I wonder, makes you think, why? And, there was a short snippet, and I'll go back and I'll find the clip because there was a hearing, and in one of those hearings, which leads me to my theory, very strong theory, is that there was a hearing where Bill Thompson says himself, well, and I'm paraphrasing, mind you, he says, if I would have known that, I would have negotiated with the FBI in regards to X, Y, and Z. And why would Bill Thompson be talking to the FBI? Maybe that was something else they didn't want to be in this documentary, because the more people that they could keep behind the scenes, the better it is for them to spin their narrative. And that is the reason I believe they didn't feature some of these families in documentary series. Again, that's my take on One Night in Idaho, the college murders. Someone needs to come out with the documentary, The Real Truth About Moscow. What would that look like? Wouldn't that be interesting? To say the least, something is very wrong. In this case, there was a parallel investigation per Steve G that was all over the place. Ethan was left off of the Maddie's charity. Absolutely. I noticed that kind of chapped me the wrong way, because it was about all these 4 kids. Or was it? What really happened? What really happened? Because I'm going to show you something from Bill Thompson before we leave here, so that it can get your creative juices and your mind going about what really happened in that house in Moscow. And I've said this before, I'm going to bring you that theory, which basically solidifies what I've thought all along in some shape, form, or capacity in the Idaho 4 case. And let me put this right up here for you, and we'll listen to what Bill has to say, because Bill told us right here and then.
It's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Knodel was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapens, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were 2 other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, those roommates awoke, looked out, or not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw.
Well, we know that wasn't true per the timeline, right? Does everybody remember that timeline? Remember the timeline that I put together? If you're not a TikTok OG, there was a timeline I put together from consolidating 3 documents. In those 3 documents, oh, you can't barely see it. It's tinier than heck. In those 3 documents, compared side by side, well, 2 documents, and then the third came from the court document. The timelines don't match up. There was a window of approximately, I want to say, 7 minutes to do this whole entire thing. Let me grab my glasses. I'm going to read it to you. In this prosecutor's timeline, that never made sense to a ton of people. This is why I did it, so that people would be able to see it. 412 suggests that Carnoodle was reportedly on her phone. 417, the audio from the surveillance picked up a loud thud. At 420, that's 3 minutes. I would give them 5-minute leeway. 7 minutes total to do this. And this was per the footnote on a court document that stated she again tried calling Kaylee at 2:53. So, and at 3:51, Dylan creates a new contact in her phone. She was not asleep, y'all. Let's go back and listen to what Bill says.
Saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. 20 that morning. So this would have been 15 minutes or so later.
I just have to throw this in there. Bill Thompson, you are a bad actor. You remind me of a corrupt lawyer in Canyon County that needs to retire himself.
Heads north and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that
I
part of
wonder
town.
how many thugs and criminals that Bill Thompson knows.
The defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance.
Wrong again. We just went over that.
So we know that he went through County about 4:48. That comes back on. And the evidence that that phone was located, you found where the defendant lived.
Now, don't you think that Amazon would have, they released this July 11th. This plea took effect July 2nd. Don't you think Amazon would have corrected their discrepancies before releasing this documentary series?
About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington picked was there for about 10 minutes and then returned. The state's evidence will show evidence taken from the defendant's phone that he took a selfie of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up.
The phone went to the Lewiston-Clarkson Valley. Any idea? Anybody have any thoughts or theories on that? Oh, I'm breaking up. Okay. Any thoughts or theories? Can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Any idea why he would go to the Lewiston area? I do have a theory on that. I'll share that later. Hopefully I'm not cutting out too bad. So why do you guys think that Bill Thompson said that the phone records show he went to the Lewiston area? Okay, I'll go back to the video, but why do you think that Bill Thompson said he went to the Lewiston area?
Approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving the defendant's activities.
You guys have heard by chance of fishing magnets? Huge magnets that they can put in the water and it attracts any metal. Anyone? The tape keeps cutting out. I wonder why.
As
Let's
I've just
listen to the rest of
outlined
it.
on the 13th and leading up to the 13th. The state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th, 2022, a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, to replace the one that was left. Also will see attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Koberger went to what we would call DMV, motor car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's a note because Pennsylvania cars not require a license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't. Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate. Mr. Koberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. At this point, where Mr. Koberger had been acting about him, we're trying to find, located him with him, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip.
Did you all just hear what Bill Thompson said about the DNA? What do you think about what he just said about the DNA? What do you think Bill Thompson implicated in regards to what he said about the DNA? I sure hope you guys just heard that. Okay. There is no knife. He sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher. Okay. Couldn't hear what he was saying. Couldn't hear it. Okay. I'll tell you exactly what caught the Q-tip. Let me go back and play it. Hopefully it'll play perfectly this time. I want you guys to hear what Bill Thompson says about the DNA. It's really super important because if Brian Koberger allegedly bought this knife in Pennsylvania, took it to Washington, and this had happened, somebody used his knife and framed him for it, that could be a possibility. But listen to what Bill says about the DNA.
DNA on a Q-tip coming from the father's DNA sheath that was next to Madison Logan's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho.
Okay. I'm going to go back just a little bit further.
Lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the family residence of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify from.
So they got his dad's DNA, then ran it, but they never said how they got his DNA. They ran it through a forensic laboratory where the lab experts there were able to identify his dad's DNA. So they didn't get Brian Koberger's DNA until after they arrested him when he did a swab. The DNA on the Q-tip from his father. A Q-tip of unknown origin was sent to the lab. Yep, that's what it was. It came from his father. They arrested him, then got his DNA, and it was matched. Wow. That is so wild. So don't you think that Amazon would have correctly shared where this information came from if they really wanted the general public to understand this case or sympathize with those students? Plot twist, Mr. K works for the Q-tip. I would. It was actually it wasn't proper protocol. The FBI did it. They did it. And the clip of Bill Thompson saying in the courtroom when Anne says, "My client is innocent, Your Honor. I believe in his innocence." And she goes on and they argue the DNA. You know what's interesting is Thompson says, "Well, I would have worked with the feds or I would have negotiated with the feds." Why is Bill Thompson negotiating with the feds? That was very interesting. Very interesting. I will give you my theory about this case before the sentencing, because I think it's important to put the court hearings. You learn a lot in the court hearings, more than you do in some of the documents we've been able to see. So I only wish that Amazon would have shared some more accurate information. I gave you my bullet points, and I think One Night in Idaho, if I had to give it a rating, it's probably a C. But who am I? I'm just some old grandma sharing my thoughts about the truth in our court system that the media won't share, but it's so subtle to see it. Illegal search and seizure, right, violation. Yeah, they actually did try him in the media, just like someone else that we have seen in the past in the cases that I've shared with you over the last few days. And I will share with you. Before I leave, I want to ask you one question. Do you think Brian C. Koberger will ever be exonerated in this case? Do you think Brian Koberger will ever be exonerated in this case? And with that, as always, be well.